Last punk standing, while Billy Childish, CTMF, Marc Riley and Gideon Co here in Dock House, Media City, Salford, while somewhere in Kent we have Wild Billy Childish. Billy?
Good evening, gentlemen.
Evening.
How are you?
I'm diddling okay. Just came back from Berlin the other day from an exhibition I'd opened out there, and everyone was very kind and supportive, so I'm a happy boy.
Excellent. Okay, well, we know that you've always got 101 things going on, so we'll address some of them. Now, the first thing that we want to talk about, really, is the autobiography. So, it's Ted Kessler...
It's not an autobiography, it's a biography.
Ted Kessler's book, all about you, and it's called To Ease My Troubled Mind, authorised/unauthorised biography. Mm-hmm. So, now that it's all done and dusted, is it authorised or unauthorised?
Well, I authorised them to do a book that I wouldn't read. So all I said to Ted was, it's your book, I won't read it. Just try and check the facts as best you can, and I'll put you in touch with people and allow there to be contradictions.
So would you say that you will never read it? You're going to stick to that? Because you must be very tempted.
I'm not really, I'm not, anyone who does recording and those things, I mean, do you like listening to your radio shows?
No.
No, because you hear your voice and you think, I sound like an idiot, or you read something about yourself and you think, well, that's not true, even if it's sort of like based around things, because nothing can be quite, words are things that point in directions of things, and people misunderstand. I let Ted do it because he's a top guy, and he did use We Hate the NME on his answer phone when he was at the NME, when everyone else was crying in their beer. So I thought, well, he's a top sort, so he'll be able to treat it fairly and intelligently, because Ted's a gentleman, he's not a journalist.
What about the process of doing that, though? Because I know you are forever forward thinking and on to the next thing. And here you spent a lot of time, as I understand it, in your house, chatting to Ted and telling stories from your life and talking about your life and everything around it. How did you find that part of putting this book together?
Well, that was easy enough, and it wasn't a lot of time. I mean, because it takes so little time to record and to make paintings. I mean, Ted was pretty fast and sharpish, and we had several, maybe a dozen meetings, I don't know, and I like telling stories and batting the breeze and trying to remember crazy stuff from the past. So, I mean, I'm you can imagine, I meet strangers on the bus and I'll be telling them about my father's criminal record if they're interested, or if the subject comes up, because it's sort of like it's entertainment. It's fun and easy. I don't have any problem with that stuff.
Would you ever tell them about the Panther of Bluebell Hill?
Yeah, I stopped a man on the platform at Rochester Station one time who I knew was interested in that subject, and I recognised him as someone who was writing in that area. So I doorstepped him and told him about my experience in 1973, I guess, 74. And of course, this was before people were really talking about there being the possibility of big cats around. There's been quite a few sightings of that Bluebell Hill one. I've not had anything in recent years, but I mean, it was broad daylight, and people thought it was crazy when I told them I'd seen a panther in the woods. Scared the life out of me.
Yeah, that's the way it is. I saw Mick Jagger on Oxford Road in Manchester in 1976, and nobody believed me either.
Did he scare the life out of you? my brother's mate ran into Jimi Hendrix in Soho, and he was very excited and told everyone at school that he'd met Jimi Hendrix and he spoke to him. But Jimmy just told him to F off. But he was very pleased to have had that encounter and be told to clear off by Jimi Hendrix.
Well, it's an honour, obviously, to have any exchange with Jimi Hendrix would do. So, did Ted ask you anything, because it's an extremely candid book, did Ted ask you anything that you didn't want to engage in or answer?
No, I don't think so, no. I suppose it could have. I mean, because I write all this confessional poetry, and I've been working in that area since really my late teens, and looking at my sort of like my past and damaged past, it's sort of like a bit no holds barred. The strange thing is, if I read poetry or people I don't know come up to me and want to talk about those things, I don't like it, in the sense that I am reasonably shy about those things, and I don't like to read those poems much. I don't really recognise it, but it's not something I'd shy away from on a one-to-one basis. I think I'd probably talk about anything on a one-to-one or just a small group of people. I'm not really bothered about that, but I don't like audiences much, and I'm a little bit shy of the idea of people reading the book and thinking they know me, because they certainly won't. Not because of any inadequacy of Ted's book, but because personas and the way things are portrayed, they're a pointing finger towards a sort of truth, but people tend to fixate on the finger rather than the truth.
Yeah, I mean, so having said that, Billy, I mean, you just mentioned that you're not really too comfortable or don't really enjoy, audiences, but you were doing a Q&A on the 4th of July at Rough Trade East with Ted Kessler, Stuart Lee and Laura Barton. So how will you feel about that, actually being able to see the white of their eyes whilst you are answering these questions?
Well, generally speaking, I know Stuart Lee and Ted. I've not met the lady before, but I'll probably... because I'll be talking to them, and it will be more one-to-one anyway, and other people will be eavesdropping. I mean, I sort of like... and also it's my duty a little bit, because people put work into things. It's like going to art shows. As I said, I was just in Berlin. I don't enjoy those things or those interactions with public hugely, but because I've been so lucky to be in a position... of getting some recognition, and that recognition enabling me to have a life where, I gave up work at 16.
Right, yeah.
I mean, I was on the dole for 12 years, but it's this thing like, I've never wanted a job, and I've never wanted to be beholden to anyone, and that's why I don't sign any contracts or do any of these, with any of the areas I work in, because I don't like anyone holding anything over me. But being able to be a painter and a hobbyist musician means that I've got a very privileged position to lots of people who have to do things that they don't enjoy, and it would be really ungracious not to appreciate that and help the people who put on exhibitions or publish a book or move things forward a bit. I mean, the thing I'm really a little bit dubious of is Jeff, who did the film of The Devil in Daniel Johnson. He has been trying to make a film of my work for the last 10 years, trying to raise money, and it looks like it might be going to be made. And, I do not like people thinking they know me or being at all in a public position. I don't mind polite people who want to say hello and have a handshake or whatever, but there's nothing as stupid as fame as far as I'm concerned.
There is that line, isn't there? People think they know me.
Yeah, but I mean, there is nothing as stupid as being famous or compromising. It's a ridiculous thing. I mean, even guys who really deserve some recognition for maybe being genuine heroes to other people are shy of that type of thing, and they're the only people who really deserve it,
To help in a way that people also, there are also other names under which you operate, so to speak.
Yeah, I like being anonymous and working in lots of different areas, and because I believe that talent is that important and is overvalued generally. I mean, it's something that I would agree with that Mark Smith about. You know, he always had that thing about musicians.
Yeah, don't bring that on, Billy.
Smith on much.
Can you gloss over that?
I agreed with him on that. You know, that's sort of like, you know, who cares how good someone is at anything? It's sort of like a little bit immaterial. I think probably he didn't mean it in the way I mean it. What it is, it's like you want simple elements coming together and that community of doing something which creates something that wouldn't exist otherwise out of simple elements. I'm lucky enough to work with some people who are very talented at things, but it's not. It doesn't make you any better than anybody else. It's just a gift that God gave them, or you've got, and you should be grateful for it and shut up, really.
Yeah, I mean, talking about working with other people and other talented people, we have on this programme, or the previous programme, had a session from your son Huddy's band, the Shadracks, and now we welcome to the fold another of your kids, Atticus. So how did that happen?
Well, they've always, like, when they were a kid, they were always singing about everything they did. And then, you know, learned to play drums quite well at 14. Then gave up drums and decided to learn guitar a bit. And like the mother, Julie, the kid's a little bit more musical than myself or Huddy, really, you know, a bit more naturally musical and got quite a good voice. And I've been sort of like trying to convince them to do backing vocal. And then they're 14 now, and then we managed to sort of say, well, try a backing vocal on this, and how about doing the lead vocal? And, you know, they like the Ramones and whatnot, so I managed to, against all my expectation, they actually went in and did it. And, you know, it's so great to hear a 14-year-old voice on a song, you know, like, rather than us old fossils.
Yeah, we did play There Goes My Date with Doug last night. We're going to play Judy Is a Punk in a short while. But we know that you're a fan of we've talked before about those legendary 60s package tours with The Move and Floyd and Hendrix and all that. Why don't you get a family package tour together with CTMF, the Shadracks and Atticus? You could have Jimmy Tarbuck could do the MCing, perhaps.
Yeah, it's a possibility, but you know, Judy doesn't even like doing shows. And because we use these are antiquated PAs, and you know how picky we are, and we don't have agents, and we don't have managers, and we're sort of like it's a battle against the world that we do. You know, the truth of how it is. Those shows you're talking about back in the 60s, they've got fantastic PA, fantastic kit, no foldback, and you know you can turn up. They're doing 3 or 4 of their hit songs, and then the next group's on, and everything sounds great, and you can go across town and play in decent halls. And also, the people you're playing to were young people interested in the music, not people who are past it and trying to remain cool like us.
Well, thankfully, Gid and I, you know, I mean, we know we aren't cool. We know that much.
But you know, when we were kids, people. If people at our age had been into the music, we'd have given them a very quizzical look.
Yeah.
What the hell are they doing there? It's nothing to do with you. You go and listen to Radio 4, mate. I listen to Radio 3, so I'm off the... Yeah, I met Don McLeod the other day.
I saw the photo.
Yeah. I really like... He does a Composer of the Week, and he was very chuffed that he had me and Huddy as fans and wanted to hang out with Don McLeod. Are
you doing an interview for Radio 3 as well, then?
It's not been broached as yet, you know. But I do like. That's the only radio station I listen to, because I don't like too much chit chat.
No.
But I mean, my God, they do play some rubbish on there as well.
Hello, Radio 3.
Hello, Radio 3. But Don's good, and they do another one. He does Composer of the Week, and they do another one. The early music show,
which
can be really good.
Okay, well, all right, Billy. So we're kind of nearly there, but we have just received from Damaged Goods, the wonderful record label that you're associated with, from Fossilised Cretaceous Seams, a short history of his song and dance groups, Wild Billy Childish. And, you know, it doesn't take much to remind us of how many records you've released and how prolific you are, but also the list of all the different bands that you've been in. And it's a fabulous compilation.
Oh, cheers. Yeah, it was a difficult one to do for a double album, but and my favourite thing was, I was interviewed the other day and someone asked me what my favourite track was that I'd done, and I came up with Fire in the Mountains, or as another version of it called Lions Walk the Trail, which is a different version of the same song, and that the title of that album comes from that song. And then I did look at the track list and realised that it wasn't on it.
Oops.
Oh,
well, because, it's like, what is your favourite song? It's like, or your my favourite tracks. I mean, it would be, I'd probably do a different selection every day. You just try and get a vague feeling. The idea was that, like, it showed that, because people think that the only song I've written goes da, 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 da. And we've got a couple of other variations around that. And we wanted to have something available for people who hadn't already been inundated with my nonsense, and may want to dip their toe in and find out, what fantastic rock and roll groups I've played with.
Well, undeniable, Billy, undeniable. So, just to warn you now, Gideon and I, with our mate Jace, we will be at the Q&A.
Hi.
Okay, you might be able to come up with some sort of questions that I won't answer. You do your best.
No, we're not working. It's not a gig.
No, this isn't working. This will be entertainment, because you can try and put me in the corner.
Heaven forbid.
Well, I tell you what you could do, Billy. You could it could be a couple of plants, and you could give us some questions you really do want to answer.
All right, okay, I'm really bad at that as well.
Okay, all right.
I'm one of these people who doesn't need to see. I don't like knowing the questions beforehand, because I want to find out what I think.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, we won't.
That's handy. That's good.
All right. So it's been a pleasure, as always, to have a chat, Billy. And also, we've mentioned Atticus before. Played Atticus last night. There goes my date with Doug. You mentioned it previously. This is
that one. That's ATV. That song.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Great tune.
Yeah.
You really got me meets is it Brady Bunch or the Partridge? Here's the Brady Bunch. The song's from, isn't it? It's an episode of the Brady Bunch that the story comes from.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, and it's great when you get Marc singing. It goes, I'm just a teenage girl, and I think what a great opening line for a sort of like South London yob.
It's just a perfect pop song, isn't it? We absolutely love it. So, we are going to go to Atticus now, backed by you good selves, and this is Judy is a Punk, and we'll see you in London in a couple of weeks' time.
Okay, great to speak to you, chaps, and thanks for being there and still flying the flag.